Hello everyone, I just wanted to do a short post today. There's been several things happen in the last couple days with the economy and also with the Olympics at Sochi. The economy, evidently the stocks had done a dive on Friday, enough to worry investors in the world. China's economy has been tumbling, their growth has slowed way down. I'm not an economist, so we're going to end up playing a portion of a video with Steve Quayle and V, the guerrilla economist on Hagman and Hagman. But I want to start out with Sochi because there's a lot of things going on there that's very strange. The U.S. has even sent warships to the Black Sea in case they have to evacuate Americans. And they have just issued a warning, a travel advisory for Americans not to go there. Here's a post I did on the 20th, and I hesitated to mention a false flag, but anyway, this was the one about warships deploying for Sochi. And there was a video that had came out with Muslim extremists saying that they were going to attack the games, just like the train stations that they did, and they were spewing vitriol and hatred. And I even made a link to it here, and look what happens. Of course, they took the video down. It was pretty explicit about what they were going to do, but evidently they scrapped it. All these threats seem to do is just cause more hatred and fear, and it just has to stop. It does. President Putin is rumored to have threatened to nuke Mecca if the attack was carried out. Truth? I don't know, but I'm going to point out a few more things that Hagman points out in one of his posts also. Okay, Doug Hagman is a private investigator. He has a lot of ties in the intelligence community. You can read this article and more at www.homelandsecurityus.com, and that will also get you to his videos too. Anyway, threats at Sochi expose a larger agenda, says intelligence source. Terrorism at the Olympics will not be caused by crazy Islamic homicide bombers, as the media and many political pundits want us to believe. It is a tactic to advance much larger agendas in the Middle East. Think bigger. Look at the whole picture, not just where we are being directed to look. Okay, he says he was recently asked about the possibility of a false flag attack at the Olympics by someone he respected. He was well grounded and someone who didn't chase down rabbit holes after alternative realities. He didn't give it a lot of consideration, but when he started checking into it, he started getting scenarios. It appeared that I was a bit behind the curve about the very real threat of a false flag event taking place at the Olympics. To clarify the definition of false flag, I'll also include the passive act of looking the other way, allowing an event to occur, or permitting just enough of something to happen that it would capture the attention of the world. It certainly does not need to be on the scale of 9/11, but could very well have similar consequences. Consequences that could lead to global war. That's what I'm interested in this about, that they're just dead set on starting this global war, and that ties into the sixth trumpet. The Olympic Games are a high-profile event with multinational participation. Any attack, terrorist event, or disruption at Sochi, whether a false flag or real-world action, would be viewed as an attack on the world's Olympic Games, not just against Russia. Okay, we've already seen a number of disconcerting things take place in the run-up to the Games that should serve as indicators of problems, but most telling, perhaps, is that the Saudi intelligence minister, Prince Bandar bin Sultan, visited Putin last August and again in December. It is well known that Bandar, also known as Bandar Bush, speaks for the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. He told Putin that the Saudis would not authorize or support any terror attacks during the Olympics, but they could stop such attacks under the right circumstances. What was the message in that statement? And what circumstances were being referenced? They are strong-arming Putin over Syria, pushing him into a corner to keep him from overtly backing Assad by military and other means by using the threat of terrorism during the Olympics as a bargaining chip. So maybe the rumor that Putin said he would nuke Mecca is true. Who knows? But I know that there's a lot going on behind the scenes that is not being brought out into the open right now. So the Olympics are being used as a bargaining chip by the Saudis to tie Putin's hands at least until the Olympics are over. He says, is the U.S. taking the threat seriously? It appears so, as we've already strategically moved naval assets into position in the event it becomes necessary to respond to an incident and move Americans out of that area. And then we had today, they're still issuing travel advisories telling Americans not to go. So I don't know what's going to happen at Sochi. I'm praying that nothing happens, but it sure looks like the world powers are using this to back Putin into a corner. I am not a Putin fan, by no means, but that's what this appears to be. Okay, let's move on to the video with Steve Quayle and V, the guerrilla economist. I can't recommend this enough. You should watch the whole report. And like I said, if you go to their website, it will direct you to their live programs, and you can choose this one. It's a must listen to. I'm going to play a few seconds of the opening, and then we'll move around a little bit so you can hear some of what Steve Quayle and V, the guerrilla economist, has to say.
Couldn't be better times. You saw 175.99 loss on the Dow yesterday. Today it was up there around 300 and some, about 500 total day, the 2-day loss, and it's a Friday, so we're not going to see what's going to happen with this 2-day break. There were some rumors about China dumping treasuries and some hacking in CNN newsroom yesterday. The article got posted up there, and a lot of other financial things going on. JP Morgan had the biggest day of removal of gold. And with that, I'm going to bring Steve on. Steve, welcome to the Hagman and Hagman Report.
Well, good night, good evening, and let's get going, because again, Joe, you just nailed some of the biggest stories that have happened in the financial world, especially the JP Morgan vaults being emptied of a lot of gold, the second largest in history. What's interesting is that I think I've said it before on the show with you guys on Hagman and Hagman. Gold always moves from weak hands to strong arms. And it's nobody's, how should I say this? No one should be in the dark at what is taking place in China. I'm suspecting right now that as the CNN article that was posted, we were doing the show the other night at the close of a show with Sheila Zelinsky, Doug, and that article posted, and then they claimed it was an attack. Well, let me tell you something. Attacks like that don't just happen. Number one, that was an Illuminati message that China was dumping all their commercial paper. Number two, that they had closed the Sea of Japan, or Sea of China, South China Sea. And those things are, how should we say this, more than faux pas. They're more than just, a glitch or a cyber attack. Those are severe messages. Now today, Ambrose Evans Pritchard of the Telegraph basically said Japan-China war of words goes ballistic in Davos. And one of the problems with American school systems is they have robbed the young people who are now getting to be the leaders of this country of they've robbed them totally of any reality-based history. In other words, they don't know the history of World War II, World War I, or the coming World War III. And what we're facing right now is a global economic meltdown. We're facing the fact that Japan is printing money with reckless abandon. They don't even care. The United States printing money with reckless abandon. They don't even care. The Chinese have taken all those dollars that they've gained by selling the West all their cheap goods. So when I say cheap, cheaper than it would cost to manufacture most things domestically. And they've taken the paper money, and now they're buying real stuff. One of
the article that he's referencing, it was on CNN. I believe it's on their news alerts, and it was very disturbing. I believe it was titled China declares war on the United States stock market. It said that they had dumped all of their dollars and their paper money, and and it was pretty explicit, and then all of a sudden CNN took it down and said that's not true. Our website was hacked. So, I don't know. It just sounds kind of funny. And Hagman and Steve Quayle and V all say the same thing. This global economic crash is right at the door, and so is World War III. And I agree with Steve. They've taken the history out of school, and there's not enough young people that recognize this is the same thing that happened with World War I, World War II, and it's going to bring about World War III. Okay, let's listen again just for a few seconds as they bring V in.
About World War III. I know V is he on now?
Yes, V is with us. V
Yeah,
is with
okay.
us.
I'm sorry, Joe. Yeah, I think we better get right into the matter of what the topic is tonight, because again, we've just had a very severe alert and warning over the Super Bowl. We're seeing false flags. We're hearing about the poisoning, a, quote, exercise to poison the food in February after the Super Bowl. That's what Doug had warned everybody. He's concerned for that period after the Super Bowl. But I think what V will lay out, and I'll go silent, V, until you want to hand it back, but you need to understand what's at play here. The death of the dollar, the petrodollar, when America's dollar dies, so does our place in the world. So we're going to fight like mad. We're going to stir up as much revolution in the Ukraine as we can. We're going to stir the stuff. And one guy, Doug, and I'll put this politely, sent me an email, publisher, saying, the stuff has hit the fan. He said it's time to duck and dig in. And you know the publisher, but I'm not at liberty to tell him. Very well known. So the point is that we're on the verge of World War III, the economic collapse, and even in normal times when gold would sell off, when the stock market would sell off 300 points, we should have seen gold go down. It didn't, and that's what put a kibosh, or put a break to the idea of selling gold short. There's a huge gold short out there, meaning people are betting it's going to go down. My guess is China and India are calling the United States and the manipulators bluff, and I think it's only going to get worse. So I'm going to turn it over to V, and V, lay this out so people can understand that if ever you and I have been on a show at any time and period, tonight is most perilous that we've ever done a show together in light of the breaking news. Go ahead.
Amen. Absolutely. This is probably going to be the most important show that we have ever did, and I don't take that lightly. Over the past, I believe in June of 2012, I remember writing an article and giving it over to Steve, and I think that was one of our first communiques, and I put it out there saying that the euro was an unofficially collapsed currency. And you see the over almost 2 years later how that's being played out because the currency is dead. Folks, the dollar is unofficially, it's dead. It's worthless. Okay.
Okay, so you see that they're telling the truth, and I think that you should probably watch the whole program because it's very good, and it even goes into the Sochi and it goes into the Super Bowl later on. But V and Steve, they lay it all out. They give you signs to watch for. They give you pointers. It's very good. I'll try to put a link to this video in the description so that you can get there easier. But I do recommend watching the entire video. Okay, I know I went through some really quick stuff, but it does detail everything that's happening and everything that we should be paying attention to. Things are happening very fast. Prophecy is unfolding at a rapid rate. The global economy is collapsing. The country's economies are collapsing, and they're gonna enforce a global economy. We know that. That's prophesied in Revelation. So just take a little bit of time and search and find out what's really going on out there in the news. And like I said, I'm praying that nothing happens in Russia, but it just don't look real good. Anyway, until next time, stay prayed up, packed up, and ready to go.